Hello everyone. So another passage, and we are giving and uploading these RC passages. From this week we have started with 2 passages a day, and along with DILR videos. I hope you guys have started enjoying these sessions, and please share your feedback with us. So this passage is of 482 words, and it is slightly on the difficult range. Let's read the passage. There are no degrees of beauty. The most complex and the simplest expression remind us of one and the same state. So the first thing that the author is trying to mention to us, that there are no degrees of beauty. So anything, whether it is simple or complex, reminds us of the same state. That is the same beautiful thing. The sonata cannot be more beautiful than the simplest lyric, nor the painting than the drawing, merely because of their greater elaboration. So he is again elaborating his own point, and he is adding more details to it, and he says that just because painting is more elaborative, it can't be more beautiful than drawing. Just because sonata has more complexity and details cannot be more beautiful than a simplest lyric. He again says, civilized art is not more beautiful than savage art, merely because of its possibly more attractive ethos. That is nature, or ethos means nature. So just because civilized art is more attractive in nature doesn't mean it is more beautiful. A mathematical analogy is found. If we consider large and small circles, these differ only in their content, not in their circularity. So now an analogy is formed that things can differ only in their content, that is the elaboration, but not in their circularity, that is the degree of beauty will not change, only detailing and complexities may change. We cannot say that a small circle is less circular than a large circle. In the same way, there cannot be any continuous progress in art. So he says that as a small circle cannot become a better circle if we increase the size, or if we say that you keep on drawing circles and after 10 days you will find a better circle. In the same way, there is no progress in art. Art is just art, and it is always beautiful. Immediately a given intuition has attained to perfectly clear expression, it remains only to multiply and repeat this expression. So he says that in the beginning only he said that complex and simplest expression. So he is again using the same terminology here as well, that as soon as an intuition has changed or converted into a perfect clear expression, then the only thing is left to multiply and repeat this expression. And then there is no continuous progress, then the art has achieved its form. This repetition may be desirable for many reasons, but it almost invariably involves a gradual decadence, because we soon begin to take the experience for granted. So now he says that these repetitions are desirable, but they also have a gradual decadence, because we take the experience for granted. So maybe the first time you drank any cold drink like Thumbs Up, Pepsi or Coca-Cola, you might have enjoyed a lot because that was the first time you experienced that. But if you keep on drinking those things on a regular basis, you lose the charm. They may not be as desirable, or they may not be as good. The vitality of a tradition persists only so long as it is fed by intensity of imagination. He is again explaining the same thing. Vitality means life. So life of a tradition persists only so long as it is fed by intensity of imagination. So if we keep on changing imagination, if we keep on adding more and more things into that tradition, it will live, otherwise it will die. What we mean by creative art, however, has no necessary connection with novelty of subject, though that is not excluded. Now author says that creative art not necessarily need novelty of subject. he says that it is not excluded in the definition of creative art, but it is not a necessary condition. So we can say that subject is not very important, or it is immaterial when we are looking at creative art. Creative art, now the definition of creative art is art that reveals beauty where we should have otherwise overlooked it, or more clearly than we have yet perceived. So he says that creative art reveals beauty. So the job of creative art is to reveal beauty where we have overlooked it. That means we have experienced that a lot, and as a result we overlooked that beauty, or more clearly than we have yet perceived. Or it is possible that we may not have perceived that beauty in that clear way. So the job of creative art is to reveal beauty. Beauty is sometimes overlooked just because certain expressions have become what we call hackneyed. Hackneyed means overused. So just because something is used again and again and again, as a result we start overlooking the beauty in those expressions. Then the creative artist, dealing with the same subject, restores our memory. So the job of the creative artist is to restore our memory. The artist is challenged to reveal the beauty of all expressions, new and old. So whether the subject is new or is an old subject, the job of artist is to reveal the beauty. So from the first passage we understood that there is no degree of beauty. We understood that creative art is the job of creative art is to reveal beauty, and beauty is sometimes overlooked because we take experience for granted. Now moving on to the second paragraph. Many have rightly insisted that the beauty of a work of art is independent of its subject, and truly the humility of art, which finds its inspiration everywhere, is identical with the humility of love, which regards alike a dog and a Brahman, and of science, to which the lowest form is as significant as the highest. So now the author says that it is rightly insisted by a lot of people that beauty of a work of art is independent of its subject, already discussed in the first paragraph, and the humility of art finds its inspiration everywhere. And now it is compared, this work of art is compared with love, it is compared with science, and it is said that as we equally love a dog and a Brahman, as science equally gives importance to the lowest form as science gives to the highest form, same way art finds inspiration everywhere. And this is possible because it is one and the same undivided all. Now the author is trying to link this job of creative artist or to finding beauty everywhere with God. He says that this is possible, we are able to find beauty in everywhere because everything is same and it is one and only one. So since everything or every natural thing we see is, if you read the next part, if a beauteous form we view, 'tis his reflection shining through. That means wherever we see beauty, we are seeing reflection of that undivided all. And since that undivided all is beautiful and it is his reflection everywhere only, so we always see beauty in everything which we see. It will now be seen in what sense we are justified in speaking of absolute beauty and in identifying this beauty with God. So now he is saying that this needs to be checked, how we are talking about this absolute beauty thing, and how can we attach this to God. We do not imply by this that God has a lovely form which can be the object of knowledge. So he is not saying that since we are able to see beauty everywhere and we are saying that because it is reflection of God, that is the reason we are seeing beauty, that means God is, that doesn't mean that God has a lovely form, that God is the most beautiful thing. But that in so far as we see and feel beauty, we see and are one with Him. But because whenever we see beauty, it is God only, we see God and we are with Him, that makes everything beautiful, not because God has a lovely form and we need more knowledge to learn God and all those things. That God is the first artist does not mean that he created forms which might not have been lovely had the hand of the potter slipped. So now he is saying that God is the first artist doesn't mean that he created forms, and as a result in the process he might have created something more beautiful and something less beautiful, just as if a potter is creating different objects, if his hand slips he loses the form of that particular object. So it doesn't work with God, and he doesn't work in the same way, but that every natural object is an immediate realization of his being. But whatever we see, whatever natural object we see, it is him only taking that shape. So he is not creating forms, it is he only who has taken those forms. This creative activity is comparable with aesthetic expression in its non-volitional character. Volitional means free will, free choice. So he is saying that since we do not have any choice, we have already discussed that you have to assume that everything is beautiful. So this creative activity that we are linking God with objects and everything is comparable with aesthetic expression in its non-volitional character. So here you do not have any free choice. No element of choice enters into that world of imagination and eternity. Here everything is beautiful. You need to just reveal beauty from every subject that you are looking at. But there is always perfect identity of intuition expression. We can see that intuition changes into expression and creates art, soul and body. So he says that this is possible, that different intuitions will create different expressions, different souls will have different bodies, but there is no choice. We cannot say that this expression is more beautiful than any other expression. The human artist who discovers beauty here or there is the ideal guru of Kabir, who reveals the supreme spirit wherever the mind attaches itself. So as Kabir has said that wherever you attach your mind, you'll find God. And I think it is of Kabir only, maybe of Kabir or Rahim. You guys can comment in the comment section. Man changa to kathauti mein Ganga. That means you do not have to go to Ganga to meet God. You do not have to go to any physical place to meet God. You just have to look God in your mind. If your mind attaches to God, then you can see him everywhere. So this act of finding beauty everywhere is compared with the way Kabir has said. So this was the whole passage in which beauty was discussed everywhere, and it was compared with different forms, different fields like science, love, and then the act of finding beauty everywhere is compared with God, because we are finding his reflection everywhere. So it has to be beautiful. We cannot say that anything is ugly. And it also says that God is the first artist doesn't mean he created forms. That means he is not the potter who is creating different objects, but he himself has taken shape of those natural objects that we are seeing. Now let's move to the questions. Which of the following statements are implied in the arguments put forward in the first paragraph? So we need to find out which of these statements are said in the first paragraph. A work of art qualifies to be one primarily on the basis of its form and not its content. So we can see that as per the mathematical analogy, these differs only in their content, not in their circularity. So just work of art qualifies to be one primarily on the basis of its form. So if it is a circle, it is a circle. It is circle because its form is circle, not because the content or the size is big or small. So work of art is decided on the basis of its form, not on its content. Sonata is as beautiful or is as good work of art as lyric. Painting is comparable with drawing. Simplest expression can be compared with the complex expression. So we can say that this statement is correct. Next one, the difference between two works of art will be one of kind and not of degree. So we have already said that there is no degree of beauty. We cannot compare art and we can say that this art is more beautiful or this object is more beautiful than the other one. But art forms can change. We can have a sonata, we can have painting, we can have civilized art, we can have pottery, we can have different kind of art. So the difference between two works of art will be one of kind, whether it is a poem or is a painting. But degree there won't be any degree. We cannot say that this poem is more beautiful than this piece of painting. So this is again correct. The last one, artistic traditions bear a direct living relationship with the degree of their engagement with its practitioners and connoisseurs. Directly we can see it, the vitality of a tradition persists only so long as it is fed by intensity of imagination. So all three are correct, and we'll find that option in option number 4, where it says that A, B and C, all three can be implied. So this is the correct option for this particular question. Let's move to the next one. According to the passage, creative art. So what is creative art? Creative art is the art that reveals beauty. So this is something which we need to find out, that it reveals beauty. Ascribes beauty to subjects to which its attention is directed. So it's not ascribing beauty, and it is not ascribing beauty to the subjects to which its attention is directed, but creative art is art that reveals beauty everywhere. The artist is challenged to reveal the beauty of all expressions. So not of a particular subject, but everywhere. Discovers the beauty inherent in all of its subjects. So that sums everything, may be the correct answer. Let's look at the other options as well first. So we have humbly accepts everything that is beautiful. So he's not accepting anything that is beautiful. Creative art is actually revealing beauty from everything. So this is not even factually correct. Is religious in principle if not in practice. We haven't compared it with religion. We have compared creative art with God. We haven't said that it is related to any religion. We have compared it with that undivided one. So religion is not even discussed here. So we can go with correct option, which is option number 2. Third one, according to the passage, the ideal artist. Who is the ideal artist? So we can say that the artist or the ideal artist is one who can find beauty everywhere in all the subjects, and that is the one who is the ideal artist, as said by Kabir as well. The human who discovers beauty here or there is the ideal guru of Kabir. That means he is the ideal artist. Will nor choose her subjects, but will find beauty capable of aesthetic expression everywhere. So this is correct, but before marking we'll read other options first. Will not differentiate in the way she aesthetically expresses the beauty of different subjects. So will not differentiate in the way, but we have already discussed that art can be expressed in different ways. It can be a poem, it can be a drawing, it can be a song. So he has to differentiate in the way he is expressing, but he should not differentiate in beauty. He should not classify the beauty as more beautiful, less beautiful and most beautiful. So because of this it is wrong. So it says that he is not differentiate in the way, but he is actually differentiating in the way he is expressing beauty. Will only see God everywhere, since she will find beauty in everything, and everything is God's creation. Now this is the point which was raised, but it is not the definition of ideal artist. The definition of ideal artists is someone who discovers beauty everywhere, not someone who sees God everywhere. This is an example, or this is add on to this thing, that why it is possible to see beauty everywhere, because it is actually the reflection of God, but he is not seeing God everywhere. So this is not correct. Is none but God, who in his her magnificence has endowed each and every one of his her creations with beauty. So God is not considered as ideal artist. God was the creator of these art, and ideal artist is someone who finds beauty in the work of God and who feels that it is everything is made by God and it has to be beautiful. So this is also not correct, and we'll go with option number 1 because that is something which we can sum up from the passage. So guys, I hope this is the last one, and I hope you have enjoyed the passage and the explanation as well. So if you have liked it, please like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you have any difference of opinion, if you think that you feel any other option is correct, and you have a rationale behind it, you have a thought process behind it, please feel free to post it in the comment section, and you can join our FB group and Telegram group to have further discussions and to make sure that you are part of all the activities that we are running every day on Facebook group and Telegram group. Also, please like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel and share it with all your friends and any aspirant of any kind of aptitude exam. That's it guys. Happy learning. Enjoy your day.